I never imagined I'd be sitting in a courtroom, listening to my wife smirk while our marriage fell apart. Years of trust, love, and shared dreams reduced to papers, lawyers, and the sterile, cold language of contracts. She leaned back in her chair, all confidence and arrogance, and smirked at me across the table. "The prenup is ironclad," she said, voice dripping with certainty. "Nothing you can do will change a word of it." I kept my expression neutral, calm. Inside, I was storming, but I had learned early on that anger was wasted on someone who had already chosen betrayal. I simply looked at the lawyer, the judge, and then back at her. "Are you really that confident?" I asked quietly. Her smirk widened. "Absolutely. You signed it. You agreed to every clause. You knew exactly what you were getting into. There's nothing left for you here." I nodded slowly. "Yes, I did. But you overlooked one detail." Her eyes flicked to mine. "One detail?" she said, clearly amused. Clearly, I stood up, keeping my voice measured, controlled. "The prenup covers finances. It covers property. It covers possessions. What it doesn't cover is fraud. What it doesn't cover is deception. And it doesn't cover hiding assets, income, or the truth from your spouse. All of which, by the way, I have documented." Her smirk faltered slightly. I could see it in the tiniest twitch at the corner of her mouth, the flicker of panic she tried to hide. I reached into my folder and laid out a stack of papers on the table. Bank statements, emails, hotel receipts, screenshots of transfers and messages, proof that she had been systematically concealing income, lying about expenses, and essentially committing financial fraud while pretending to be the loving, faithful partner I thought I married. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge leaned forward, eyebrows raised, clearly intrigued by the sudden shift. "Your Honor," I said, keeping my tone steady, "this is evidence that the prenup was agreed to under false pretenses. Had I known about these hidden accounts, these false statements, I never would have signed anything. Therefore, it cannot protect her from restitution or other legal consequences of her actions." Her face turned pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out immediately. The smirk was gone, replaced by fear. The arrogance was gone. She realized in that moment that the game was over. My lawyer stood, adding legal weight to my statement. "Your Honor, we are requesting a review of the prenup due to fraudulent misrepresentation. The documents presented clearly demonstrate concealment and deceit." I didn't need to say anything more. The evidence spoke for itself. Months of betrayal, lies, and deception had been meticulously documented, and now the court was seeing the truth. She tried to interject, tried to regain control, tried to turn it into a spectacle, but the judge cut her off. "We will review the evidence carefully. Fraud is a serious allegation, and if proven, it can invalidate agreements made under false pretenses." I sat back down, calm, composed. For the first time in months, I felt the balance shift. The weight of betrayal that had been pressing on me, crushing my confidence and peace, started to lift. I didn't need revenge, just justice. And now, justice was coming into view. When the hearing adjourned, she looked at me, eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and desperation. You actually brought proof?" I nodded. "Yes, because I never stopped keeping my eyes open, even when you thought I was blind. Because betrayal doesn't go unnoticed if you're willing to see the truth. Because nothing, not even an iron-clad prenup, protects lies." Her hands trembled. She wanted to argue, to manipulate, to charm the situation back to her favor, but I wasn't listening. I didn't need her excuses. I didn't need her apologies. I needed my dignity, my fairness, and the acknowledgement that deception has consequences. Months later, the court ruled in my favor. The prenup was partially invalidated due to her fraudulent misrepresentation. Assets she thought were untouchable were returned, and I walked away with the reassurance that honesty matters more than any document. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about possessions. It was about validation, integrity, and the understanding that betrayal, in all its forms, has consequences. That the years I gave, the trust I extended, and the love I offered were not worthless. They were respected and protected by truth. Looking back now, I realize the power of patience and documentation. I could have reacted with anger, with shouting, with impulsive actions, but I didn't. I gathered proof, stayed calm, and let reality and facts speak louder than words or smirks. When she left the courtroom that day, defeated and pale, I didn't celebrate. I simply smiled quietly, feeling the satisfaction of having restored balance and reclaimed my life. Betrayal hurts, lies cut deep, and trust once broken is nearly impossible to repair. But a carefully considered response, one grounded in evidence and clarity, can turn the tables. That day, her smirk was replaced by truth, and justice finally was mine.